Our next guest is General Michael Flynn's attorney, and joining us tonight is Sidney Powell, also former federal prosecutor, great American. And Sidney, great to have you with us. And again, just congratulations to you and General Flynn, and thanks to the Attorney General and the President for where we are today. It's been a long journey for you and certainly for General Flynn. Your thoughts?
We're finally making progress, and we're delighted that we are. I think the material given to us last week and then the release of these transcripts finally is absolutely stunning. I am livid that Adam Schiff and others in Congress have been able to suppress this evidence for 2 and 3 years. It is Brady evidence that is exculpatory to General Flynn, and frankly, their suppression of it should be deemed obstruction of justice, Mr. Schiff in particular, since he has been out lying in the public profusely every time he opens his mouth about the whole scenario. It's an absolute outrage.
It is an outrage, but is it an outrage without consequence for Congressman Schiff? Is there any way in which to hold him accountable for lying, for helping to create this obscene so-called impeachment inquiry, to carry on the nonsense he did for more than 2 years, that he had a certain evidence of Russian collusion with the Trump administration?
Well, he and whoever else is responsible for suppressing the transcripts and not releasing them, as far as I'm concerned, are guilty of obstruction of justice for hiding the evidence that exonerates General Flynn. I haven't even begun to scratch the surface of going through the transcripts, but I'm already finding stunning information, especially from Sally Yates, and then also from Jim Comey and Ms. Yates and their testimony and statements to the Mueller investigation that we're just now getting with the last filing the government did, their motion to dismiss. And Judge Sullivan hasn't even ruled on that yet. The case against General Flynn has not yet been dismissed. So all of this is Brady evidence, including whatever Mr. Grenell might have now, that I understand Attorney General Barr has allowed or said that he can go ahead and release.
Oh. Well, shame on all who helped Adam Schiff suppress this evidence. Shame, too, on Emmett Sullivan, the judge in this case, for not having expeditiously acted to do the right thing here. The Attorney General painted a gold path for him to follow to righteousness, and he chose to stay in the passive retreat. I mean, it makes him look bad, the federal judiciary. Nothing could make the FBI and Justice Department with its Obama-era leadership look any worse than it does. But my God, let's turn to Flynn and the unmasking. You talked about those who were helping Adam Schiff. Certainly one of them has to be a considered suspect. And that's the previous, one of the previous heads of the national intelligence, and that would be Dan Coates. It was on his watch that much of this was taking place. And I won't get into that tonight, but the unmasking, give us your best judgment as to how important it is that Rick Grenell, now that the Justice Department, the Attorney General, has said, this is your call. It's fine by me, but it is your call to reveal the names. Your thoughts about where that leaves us and your client.
I think it's very important to go ahead and release that information, because that will lead us to closer to finding the person that actually leaked the information about the Kislyak call. That leak was a felony that started the entire scenario against General Flynn. And so far we know that Comey and his FBI, I'm sure McCabe, were part of the unmasking from Comey's testimony that was just produced to us. He immediately briefed DNI Clapper on it. Clapper asked for copies, plural, of the transcripts of that phone call and got them, and then Clapper immediately briefed President Obama, who then told Sally Yates about it in the Oval Office meeting on the 5th. That's the same meeting from which they then dispatched Mr. Comey to New York to brief President Trump only on the salacious aspects of the Steele dossier, because they wanted to give a news hook to CNN and BuzzFeed to run with the whole thing. The mere fact that the president and then the president-elect had been briefed on it was enough for them to run with the whole thing, which Clapper had probably already leaked to them. So it's all tied up together, a lot of information went down at that January 5th meeting with Biden and Obama, Yates, Clapper, Brennan, Comey. The whole cabal was right there.
Sidney, I want to ask you two quick questions here as we wrap up. And certainly one of them is the debate that is beginning tonight on the renewal of the FISA authorities. And I want to get your judgment as to whether or not it should go forward without substantive major reform.
No, I think it does need massive reform, Lou. We already know that the inquiries went up. I think it was 85% in 2015 and 2016. It was obviously being used in a massive way by the corrupt Obama administration for any information they wanted to mine from it on their political adversaries and innocent American civilians. That's completely unacceptable. They have lied to the FISA court repeatedly. There are now multiple FISA applications implicated in that, and not even any Woods files. The entire idea of a secret star chamber that can issue warrants like this against American citizens is terrifying, particularly when you have an FBI and a former National Security Division of the Department of Justice run under Sally Yates that shut out the Inspector General from any oversight as soon as she took office. And then Loretta Lynch, before she left, expanded greatly the distribution of presidential briefing materials to other agencies.
Sidney Powell, thanks for being with us. I'm going to save that second question for our next conversation. Good to see you.
Okay. Thanks, Lou.
Up next.